You know, everything goes back to our thoughts. Everything. Everything. It really can be easy. It starts with having thoughts that line up with truth that feels good.
Hello and welcome to Wendy Dillard's Live. And I am your host, Wendy Dillard. How you doing tonight? So the reason I do this show is for the purpose of teaching law of attraction in the simplest terms I've been able to find and bust some myths that I think are going out and about into our social media. The most common one being think positive and you get positive stuff. Well, at the very essence of that, there's some truth, but there are so many caveats to having that really be the case. I wouldn't bank on that one. So let me explain law of attraction, and I'll take about 15 minutes to kind of teach you some stuff, and then I will take questions from the audience. So in the the most basic terms, law of attraction is a law. And being that it's a law of the universe, that means it operates 24/7, whether you know about it or not, whether you like it or not. It's kind of like gravity, where gravity is in operation all the time because it's one of the laws of the universe. And the law of gravity is a mechanism that attracts everything to the core or the center of the earth. And if we didn't have the law of gravity, we'd all be floating about. So good thing we have law of gravity. Now, as far as law of attraction goes, it speaks one language. It doesn't speak the language of words. It speaks the language of vibration. And everything in this universe has a vibrational essence to it. So when we think a thought, because that's where everything begins with a thought. When we think a thought, that thought has a vibration. Even if you're not aware of it, it still has a vibration. And law of attraction is aware of that vibration. And so because law of attraction is a device or a mechanism that attracts like things together, when you have a vibration, it will attract something of the same type of vibration to you. Now, this is the case all the time. And so you would think on the surface, if I think a positive thought, then a similar positive thought should be attracted to me. However, we have so many vibrations in our being that oftentimes when you desire something, there is a vibration attached to your desire because you have a thought that says, I want this thing. But then if you don't get this thing, there's only one reason. And that's because you have contradictory energies or contradictory vibrations going on in addition to the desire to have something. And so if you're not getting what you want, there's always a contradiction in the vibration. You may not know what that contradiction is. You may have to go searching for it, but I promise you that it's always the reason you don't get what you want. And so every thought not only has a vibration, but the vibration is for the purpose of what gets communicated to the universe. But what gets communicated to us in human form is an emotional feeling. So for every thought we have, there is an associated emotional feeling. And if you're feeling really good when you think a thought, then chances are that you have a pure thought and that law of attraction receives it and you receive the likeness in your life, likeness to that vibration. But if you don't, like I said, it's because you have a contradictory vibration. And so oftentimes how we can tell, now this isn't always, because some people are not aware of their feelings, or they don't pay attention to their feelings. I was one of those people once upon a time, but I have since come to be very sensitive to feeling my feelings. And I'll give you a story to go with this, hoping that this will help you understand how law of attraction responds to your vibrational feelings. So, um, I had taken a business course on how to grow my business rapidly, and the course is over. And my intention was to review all of my notes. And I mean, I literally have over 100 pages of notes. And every time I think about doing it, I wouldn't do it. And I was procrastinating. So I was talking to a friend the other day, and I said, I don't know why I'm procrastinating. And I said, can you ask me that question back? And that might sound really silly, but sometimes when somebody outside of you asks you a question, it puts you in the position to answer it more than if you just ask the question to yourself. So she said, okay. She said, so why are you not reviewing your notes? And as soon as she asked that question, I went, ugh. And I had a recognition that every time I thought about reviewing my notes, I got this ugh feeling in my gut. And that ugh meant it was something I didn't want to do. So now we went on the next quest, which is, so if you have this feeling you don't want to do it, let's see if we can figure out why you don't want to do it. And the first thing that popped into my head was because I don't want anyone to tell me what to do. And see, my notes were, let's just say, from the perspective of the trainer's teachings. And so I felt like the notes were all in her perspective. And there were some things that she would say to do that I didn't want to do because something about doing them didn't feel good to me. And so the idea of reviewing my notes was going to put me in the position of seeing more of, or being more in my trainer's energy, and more of, I don't want to do this. And I went, well, that's kind of interesting. I'm like, I love the class. The course really taught me a lot. I love the trainer. But I thought, well, do I have to do everything that she said to do? Because I was acting as though that's what the message of ugh meant to me. And I went, no, I don't have to do that. And so the idea came to me that I learned her stuff. So I learned her rules, if you will. I learned the essence of what she was teaching. But once she taught it to me, now it's up to me as to what I do, whether I follow what she says or whether I don't, or how can I take the essence of what she's saying is appropriate to do in business, but find a way that fits me better. So anyway, this conversation with my friend went on for a little while, and I asked myself, okay, I was just sensing I had a limiting belief in here. And so I said, okay, if I knew what the limiting belief was, what would it be? And I went, oh, my limiting belief is that when an outside authority, and authority is what's important to this, when an outside authority tells me to do something, I feel obliged that I have to do what the authority says, exactly the way the authority said it. And I went, oh, but is that true? No, that's not true. Can I come up with a creative way to do what feels right to me and still maintain the essence of what she taught? And I went, yeah, I feel like I can do that. And so then my friend said, well, now with this idea in mind, how do you feel about reviewing your notes? And I went, that feeling is gone. I feel like I can totally review my notes, because now when I review the notes, it will no longer be charged with this, you have to do it the way she said. Instead, I could look at all of my notes in terms of their guidelines. This trainer provided guidelines for me. And so with that conversation with my friend happened yesterday. And so today I had some time to review my notes. I didn't feel any procrastination coming to my computer because that's where the notes are. And I just started reviewing my notes and I went, oh my gosh, the feeling is completely gone. And there were some things where I could see, just kind of like looking at the notes, oh, this is where I would have been bothered by feeling I had to do it her way. And instead I could do it my way. And I know that I can find creative ways to follow the essence of what I've been taught without having it be a problem for me. So anyway, I tell you that story to help you understand that it was because I felt my feeling. I felt it. I noticed it. I recognized it. I acknowledged it, that I was able to ask some questions and ferret out what my truth was. And as soon as I did that, that old feeling was gone. And now I have a better feeling. I feel, I could even call it an empowered feeling. And now that new empowered feeling has a vibrational essence. And that is my new vibrational offering into the universe. I'm now telling the universe, I'm totally ready to move forward with these business techniques and tools that I've been taught. And I no longer have anything blocking it. So that's how, when you're not getting the result that you want, because like for me, I procrastinated for at least a month. And I wanted to kind of get on the bandwagon and move things along for my business. But that's how I was able to detect that the procrastination had a message for me, which is you don't have to follow what somebody outside of you tells you, that you can come up with your own solution. And that feels good. And because I'm now in the feel good space, I have every reason to know that I'll be able to, continue to review all of my notes so that I can move forward. So let's just kind of review. The universe only knows one language, and it's the language of vibration. And when we're not getting what we want, it's because there's some mixture in our vibration that's actually in contradiction to what we want. And then when we have a negative feeling, and there's always going to be a negative feeling when there's contradiction, then we acknowledge that feeling. We pay attention to it because it has a message for us. And then we figure out what the truth is. Because here's another little something. Every time you have a negative feeling, that means that the thought that was connected to that negative feeling is always an untruth. It's not true. It's a lie. And so I was believing I had to follow outside authorities, their training. And that is not true. But when I came to what my truth was, it freed me up and it released the energy that was present because I found the truth. Now, there are also times when you may think, and I say think on purpose, that you think you are all systems go and that you are vibrating to what you really desire. But if you're still not getting what you desire, that means you have an unconscious contradictory vibration. And it may take a little bit more to kind of ferret it out, to figure out what's going on. Sometimes you need a friend to kind of bounce things off of, or that's what, I do as a coach. I help people identify what their limiting beliefs are, what those stuck points are, what are those blockages that are sabotaging their success. And that's kind of where it is where my genius lies. I am like a belief detective, And nothing excites me more than to be hot on the trail of trying to uncover what a belief is that's keeping you stuck. And then once I help you uncover it, then we need to disprove it. Because you might believe that that unconscious thought that now is conscious is true, but it has to be disproved for you to release it or let it go. And sometimes that'll be hard for you on your own. Sometimes you need somebody else to kind of bounce that off of, who can see things from a different perspective. Again, that's where my genius comes in, because I can see things from another perspective. And once we get you landed on what the truth is for you, it immediately releases the disempowering unconscious belief. It's now gone. And now you have raised your vibration because you have this new thought that is freer and lighter. And now you're on your way to having law of attraction deliver to you what it is that you truly desire. So anyway, I hope that that was a meaningful message or training. It's kind of the basis of the law of attraction. And I'll be honest with you, I really haven't ever heard anybody put all of those little facts into one short little something. I've heard little bits of it here, there, and yonder, but I do understand how it is that when you don't get what you want, I know how it is that that happens. And when you do get what you want, it's even a good idea to pay attention so that you can apply whatever has helped you to manifest the thing that you desire. It's really helpful if you understand the elements so that when there's something else in your world that you want, that you can apply it in a similar fashion. So anyway, I'm now going to ask if anybody has any questions. And I have a friend who's not on Facebook, but I did send him a link so he can watch it, but he can't put the message in the chat. But he sent it to me just now via email. And let's just make sure. Yep, okay. So this is what he said. You mentioned that positive thoughts don't always attract positive results because other negative vibrations going on. I think that is what you said. If that's not what you said, please clarify what you said. Okay, I'm going to read the beginning again. You mentioned that positive thoughts don't always attract positive results because other negative vibrations are going on. And the answer to that, Dennis, is yes, that is absolutely the case. That's what I said. If you have a feeling that everything is positive and that you are vibrating to your positive thoughts, but you're not getting the results that are like what you want, then it means there are some hidden unconscious thoughts going on. And that's what you got to go, rooting around for. Okay, so now I have another gal, Joe Alexis. She says, do you work with groups or just one-on-one? The answer to that right now is I just work one-on-one with people. And thank you for that question, because I will now put up this little message. If you're interested in a private conversation with me, you can go to my website, which is wendydillard.com, and then click on the button that reads Book a Free Exploratory Conversation, which can be found at the bottom of every page because it's in the footer. And so I work with people one-on-one. We do it by phone. Some people ask me, why by phone? Why not Zoom? And what I've come to believe for me is that when I do something on Zoom and I'm seeing you on the screen, I can so easily be distracted by your hair, by your background, by the printer. I've even sometimes thought to myself when I've been on a Zoom, oh, they have the same printer as I do. As your coach, you don't want me distracted. You want me to be very keyed in, present, so that you're the only person I'm paying attention to. Because actually, part of my detective skills are that I'm listening to every element that you talk about. And you might say something, and I'll say to you, did you just hear what you said? And you'll go, no. And I'll feed it back to you. And you still won't even remember that you said it. And that's because oftentimes you have thoughts that are kind of running on autopilot. So you're not keenly aware of what you're thinking and what you're saying. But that's my job, is to pay attention to what you're thinking and saying. So anyway, Joe Alexis, thank you so much for asking that question. That's a good one. And then now she's just saying thanks, and I appreciate that. Okay, Dennis, I'm checking to see if you have any more questions, and I don't see that you do. Alexis, I've not seen you here before, so welcome, and I'm grateful to your presence. I hope you'll join me again. Right now, I don't have anybody else asking me questions. Aw, thank you. Alexis says, appreciate you. Well, I appreciate you for being here. I would love for more people to attend, because it's so much more fun when other people are asking questions, because not only do I get to share the answers, but you get to hear other examples of how law of attraction works. And so I welcome you to invite your friends, your family, anybody you know that may be interested in the law of attraction. They don't even have to believe in law of attraction. They can still ask me a question, because you can ask me anything about anything. And if I don't know the answer, I'll just be honest and I'll say, I don't know the answer to that. But if I do, I will do my best to answer it. When it comes to law of attraction, I don't say this from a tough way, but like, I challenge you to stump me. I haven't had anybody stump me in terms of coming up with an answer for anything that's law of attraction oriented. And like I said, law of attraction is operating in our lives, whether we're paying attention to it or not. But if you have, let's say, if you're really wanting a promotion at your job and you keep being overlooked, well, there's something in your vibration for you not to get that job. I know I was in that position when I worked in corporate America. I kept being overlooked over and over and over. Eventually, I cleaned up that vibration, but by then I had already left the job and I was doing what I'm doing now, which is full-time coaching. But if I were to ever have a job again, I believe that if I wanted a promotion, I'd be able to get it. But let's see, I can also help you with relationships. I have clients that have very difficult relationships with their children or their spouse, and I help them to clean up their own internal vibration. Like, I was talking to one of my clients today, and let's see, how do I want to say this? So she was telling me about something with her daughter, and how her daughter, is acting in a way that causes my client to feel uncomfortable. And what we talked about was, I'm not here to try to change her daughter's behavior. I'm not even here as a coach to change her behavior. My job is to help her with how she thinks about her relationship with her daughter. And that's what I do. Is, like, I've had people come to me and say, hey, my son is a mess. Do you think that you can help me figure out how to deal with him? And that's kind of a tricky question, because the answer is yes, I can help you. However, we're not going to focus on how your son is blah, blah, blah. We're going to focus on how you think about your son, because how you think about him is actually what's causing the angst. Like, I'll give you an example. So I had a really uncomfortable relationship with one of my family members for a very long time. And I'm purposely not going to say who it is. So if one of my family members watches this, they won't think that I'm, speaking ill about this family member. But I had a really uncomfortable relationship with this person. And I wanted it to change. But I knew that trying to change that person's behavior wasn't going to do it. Ultimately, what I did was changed how I think about that person. I no longer think that person's out to get me. I no longer think that they're like the devil incarnate, or that this is going to last forever. And just like I talked about how I adjusted my belief or my behavior around, what was I talking about earlier? I just lost my train of thought. Anyway, hopefully you remember. But how I changed my thoughts about whatever that thing was, then I got a new result. Well, I did this with this family member. I started seeing them from a different perspective, and I started finding love in my heart for them. And I noticed that even when I'd receive an email from them, and it would be the kind of thing that normally would make me go crazy, I didn't go crazy. Instead, I had very positive feelings about that person. And I went, they're not doing this to drive me nuts. And I started to disconnect how I used to feel from that person. I mean, I used to be very codependent with them. And I healed the codependency. And I no longer need that person to do anything for me to feel good about me or for me to feel good about them. And so anyway, that's how, in general, this whole thing with law of attraction works. We have to clean up ourselves. We need to be able to recognize that everything outside of us is just a mirror for what we are not owning about ourselves. And I heard someone today talk about it as a disowned part. That, like, we project things outside of us that we are not wanting to own or that we are in denial over. But if we're willing to take 100% responsibility for everything that occurs in our life and in our experience, we can heal ourselves and have a really happy, secure life. And so I no longer look at anybody as the reason I don't feel good about something. I know that when I don't feel good about a situation or a person, it's always something in me. And I always go after it. So I wonder what it is inside of me that is causing this situation. And when my words are, when I clean it up, it changes the vibration completely. And then that situation is no longer a sticking point. It no longer causes me to feel unhappy. Anyway, I think that's it for, oh my goodness. Okay, I just got another comment. And it's Jo again, Jo Alexis. And she said, my favorite Abraham Hicks quote, everything is in perfect time. Everything is unfolding and I'm enjoying here. I am now in relationship to where I'm going, content where I am and eager for more. This is the perfect vibrational stance. I totally agree. I've heard Abraham say that, and it's perfect. And now she says, oops, where I am now, it was a typo. I got that. I got the essence of it, even though it wasn't typed correctly. So, Jo, since you are the person that's asking me the questions in the chat line, I'm feeling ready to end this call, but I'm willing to go on longer if you have further questions. So would you do me a favor and just put in the chat either I'm done, which would be an indicator for me that you'd be okay if I ended the show now, because I don't want to end the show if you still have more questions to ask, because that's the reason I'm here. Or if you have other questions, even if you're like trying to type it out and you haven't gotten it yet, just say, hang on a second, or something to that effect. So let's see, I'm just going to vamp for a few moments while I wait for your next chat comment. And I want to thank you for being here. And Dennis, thank you. I know you not having a Facebook account, I know that you're watching the show, but you can't put your comments in the chat line. But I appreciate your attendance. And then, you know, we have a relationship outside of here, and then you make comments outside of here, and that always makes me feel good. So anyway, Joe, what do you have to say, my dear? Do you have something else to say? Obviously, if you're an Abraham watcher, you're watching the same source that I did. I paid attention, and I was receiving Abraham CDs of their live events since 2007. And back then, I was in their master's program, which gave me, or they sent to me, every event unedited, which was 4 CDs. And I listened to those CDs at least 3 times before I moved on to the next CD series. And sometimes they used to do 5 live events in a month. So I was listening to a lot of content, a lot of content. And basically, that's what really taught me about law of attraction. Then I started to also learn law of attraction from some other sources. But most importantly, I started using law of attraction in my own life. I hate that I said that because I correct other people, so I'll correct myself. You can't use law of attraction. Law of attraction just does what it does. But you can align yourself to the principles of law of attraction. And that's what I learned to do, is I started to align myself with the principles of law of attraction. And when I did that, I started to really understand how law of attraction operated, because I now had my own life experiences. And one of the things Abraham says is that really only life experience teaches, although they use many words and they laugh about that. But when you learn about something in word form, it's like it gets put on what I call the mental shelf. And it stays there until you have a life experience. And then you go, oh, that's what this thing up here really meant. And then you take it off the mental shelf and you understand it in a new way. So anyway, okay. So it looks like Joe's not responding. I think she's probably already gone. And Dennis, you're not asking any other questions. So I'm just going to say thank you to those who have shown up tonight. And since this is available in replay form, like immediately after I end the live stream, then I know other people will be seeing it, because I look at my analytics dashboard and it shows me that other people watch the show, just not live, and that's totally fine. So I like to keep this show going because I know it's reaching other people. And whether you're watching this live or whether you're watching this in the future, my favor that I'll ask of you is that you will tell others about it. I'm here every Tuesday night at 6 Central, 7 Eastern, and I am more than happy to take your questions. So I think that's a wrap for tonight, and thank you for being here, both now and in the future, and all is well. So I am going to find my thing here so I can end it. And I'm going to say good night. And I hope things in your life are really awesome and that you are able to live your destiny through following the things that I've shared. Okay, I'm being a little clunky moving from screen to screen. All right, good night now. Bye-bye.